For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro. This is WFO Radio.
WFO Radio, back on the air. NHRA Results, DENSO Sonoma Nationals Winners Edition. We have got Justin Ashley and JR Todd going to both be on the show. Super excited to hear from both of these racers as we've come down the stretch now. Feel like we're coming down the stretch of the regular season. Let's put it this way. 3 races remaining in the regular season. Then it's time for the NHRA countdown. All kinds of exciting stuff going on now and in the near future. We're going to talk about it all. I am super excited to bring on Justin, of course, Phillips-Connect, one of our big sponsors here on WFO Radio. And I'll tell you about everybody else in between Justin and JR. But since Justin is right here, let's bring him on and get started. And hopefully everybody out there will help us defeat the algorithm by sharing the show and get the word of NHRA drag racing out there. What's up, Justin? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm good. Not as good as you, though. What is that, 5 wins on the season now?
Yeah, it's been incredible. When you look at the Top Fuel field and how good it is this year, not only the quality, but the depth, to be able to win 5 races in only 12 events and 5 Mission Foods races, really speaks volumes of our team. So it's been a great year so far.
Yeah, it really has. But that one was special, Sonoma, the goblet or the chalice and the wine, and it's such a beautiful track. I was saying yesterday that we always talk about ZMAX and we talk about Vegas and we talk about Chicago as the most beautiful tracks. There's a couple, right? But Sonoma doesn't always get mentioned, but I think it should.
I agree. I think it's one that we don't talk about nearly enough. It is one of the more beautiful facilities. And, one of the parts that was exciting to me about the race weekend was seeing not only how many people were there, but how many people were there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. From the minute we got there on Friday, it looked packed. You pull up through the staging lanes and you look to your left, you look to your right, and there's not an empty seat. So it was really amazing racing at such a nice facility, a clean facility. And then in front of so many fans. So yeah, that was definitely a special one to win. That's one that you definitely want to win right in the middle of wine country. And for us, it was almost a semi-home race, if you will, because Dustin Davis, who's one of the co-owners of this operation, this is his hometown. This is his home race in his backyard because he's from Santa Rosa. So there were family and friends there throughout the weekend, which just made it that much more special.
Excellent. And let's start off with you guys raising, what was it, $69,000 to, obviously the Eric Medlin Foundation and the charity that has arisen from it. This is something we do each year, but Phillips-Connect and Dustin Davis, and you guys have kind of brought it back and made it a thing again. There was a go-kart race. Tell us a little bit about all of that, because what a great cause.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was definitely the first win of the weekend. I really have to say a big thank you to everybody who participated. Dustin Davis and Courtney from Speedway Children's Charity and everybody at Phillips-Connect did an amazing job coordinating these events. And it started on Thursday with the go-karting race. It was myself, Chad Green, Austin Prock, and Angel Sampay competing with fans, racing these go-karts. I don't think I got the result I wanted. I spent a lot of time in the grass. But other than that, started there with a really fun event. And then we went to the Eric Medlin Nitro Night Dinner, and they had auctions there where Courtney from Speedway Children's Charity was on hand, and a lot of different racers and teams were in attendance bidding on items. And by the time all of this was said and done, not only was it fun, not only was it exciting, Alan Reinhart was there and did an amazing job emceeing the event, but we raised $69,000 for Speedway Children's Charity. And when you think about that, that is a tremendous amount of money, and it took a lot of hard work, energy, effort, commitment, but it all came together at the right time. So that was really exciting. And there's no better way to raise money than in the name of Eric Medlin, because he really, unfortunately, I never had the privilege to know him, but he's had such a positive impact on the lives of not only myself, but so many other teams and so many other drivers out there. And it was really just a special, special weekend.
$69,000. That is a tremendous amount of money. And you're right. That's how we started the weekend off. But I heard a stat that Alan told me that, like, you had never ridden go-karts.
So that's a little bit, that's yes and no, not really. So I've driven go-karts before, but nothing like that. Like, I've driven go-karts at like an indoor facility, something small, almost you just go in a circle. I've never really driven outdoor go-karts on a road course like that. I obviously didn't make it very far because I spun out in turn 1, and I spun out like 3 times after that. But I guess if you're not spinning out, you're not trying. And not only was that, but I was there in front of the fans, and then Tommy D came down to watch, and then Dustin and his family came down to watch. I'm like, all right, got to figure out a way to do well and compete at it. Nope. It started quickly and it ended pretty quickly. So
these were fast go-karts is the point. They are not like Grand Prix, Race-A-Rama, arcade go-karts. These are real fast go-karts.
They were. And look, at the end of the day, being competitors, you wanted to win, but it was fun. We raised a lot of money. The fans had fun. And I'm looking forward to doing it again next year, hopefully with a little more practice between now and then.
Okay. Well, yeah, gives you something. Go-karts are always fun. Austin Prock was super excited about it. And then you guys did end up racing. We'll talk about that in a minute. Just a lot of people checking out the show. Obviously, we encourage them to share the show. AJ saying congratulations. Eddie saying congratulations. Blake saying congratulations. They're all saying it. And we're going to invite some people to ask a couple of questions since they are asking. And Justin, one question for Justin from Zach. How would you feel about coming out to Sonoma twice a year? That was kind of a hot topic. It makes sense with losing some tracks, and then you go to a track where it's practically sold out, jam-packed, beautiful, wine country, great food, the crowd super hyped. How would you feel about going out there twice a year? Do you think that's viable?
I think it's viable. Sure. I think first and foremost, it's got to make sense logistically. So as long as you put it on the schedule, either in the beginning or the end of the year, in addition to where it is now in the middle of the year, as long as you're out west already or headed in that direction, I think it's fine. I mean, look, it's one of the nicest places on tour. Like you said, Joe, the place was packed all weekend. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's viable. We would love to go to Sonoma Raceway twice a year. I don't know if that's in the works or if that's even a possibility based on permitting. There's so many things that go into it. But yeah, I think it would be great to go to Sonoma Raceway twice a year. We'd be all for it.
Yeah. Exactly. There are some tracks. It's like, I don't know if they can handle it. And I don't know if any track can handle it, but that one has shown maybe it could, right? Maybe it could. We'll just have to wait and see. Pomona has 2. Maybe Sonoma could have 2. Who knows? But good question, Zach. Thank you so much. Let's talk about qualifying. Bummer, man. Everybody was super excited for the 300 miles an hour to the 8th mile, that night session. I talked to everybody. They had it circled for months out. This is a go fast moment. It's not always possible to throw it down all the way, maximum. And that session is usually it. And right before, no fault of any, it's just an unfortunate fluke thing that someone put transmission fluid down and destroyed one of the lanes for a couple of days. Yikes. But you ended up qualified 7th. And that just kind of turned the whole qualifying procedure upside down for pretty much everybody.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are no excuses, and this is nobody's fault. This is racing, and the NHRA did a safety safari, did a great job. I know it took a few days, but what are they supposed to do, right? They were kind of back to do a corner, and by the time we got around to race day on Sunday, the right lane and the left lane were obviously a lot closer. So it was definitely a bummer. We had Rob Phillips in attendance Friday night, and we wanted to be the first to go 300 to the 8th mile on behalf of Phillips-Connect, but obviously it didn't happen, and that's, look, that's a part of racing. We, just like everyone else, had that Friday night session scheduled because we thought, okay, this is the time. This is the time to do it. This is the time to run in mid 360s at well over 330 miles per hour. Both times throughout qualifying that we were in the right lane, we just missed it. We weren't able to get down the racetrack for whatever reason that was. But, that put us qualified 7th, and it jacked up the ladder a little bit. But when you really look at it, In context, when we were able to run in the left lane, we ran either the quickest or the second quickest run of each qualifying session. So we did actually have a good car. We just unfortunately had some struggles in the right lane. But yeah, look, it was an exciting qualifying session. We didn't put on the show that we wanted to, which just breaks my heart for the fans on Friday night. But other than that, there were a lot of really good races on Sunday and even earlier in the day on Friday.
Exactly. So Rick is out there and he says, howdy, gentlemen. Congratulations on your fantastic win. Hey, Justin, can you give Mike Amrick a big hug for me? Go Team Phillips-Connect.
Yeah, so Mike, we spoke about being a home race for Dustin Davis. It was also a home race for Mike and Sharon Arnridge. They're from the area, and we call Mike the mayor because wherever he goes, he seems to know everybody. So we absolutely love Mike. And Rick, yes, 1,000%. I will give him a hug for you.
Excellent. All right. So you ended up qualified seventh. And so you got to run Doug Kalitta first round because of the weird ladder. Austin won the number one qualifying position. And so as the number one qualifier, he got a bye run. He got through. You ran Doug. So that's a final round right there. Like you and Doug Kalitta, the guy had made 2 previous final rounds, and you got to run him in the first round. Pick it up from there. Nothing easy about the start of your DENSO Sonoma Nationals.
Yeah, race days are quirky. This particular race day was brutal. It was, when you go down the list, it was literally 4 final rounds to win the race. And each race was close. There was no smoking the tires, no shaking the tires for us. It was first to the finish line. And each one was a good old-fashioned drag race. It really was. And, when you start with Doug Kalitta, who's pressing on that 50th career win, and Alan Johnson in the other lane, it's going to be a tough challenge. And especially being the first cars out, we really didn't know what to expect. Those were the best conditions we saw all weekend. But being the first pair out, qualified number 7 and 8, obviously I think lane choice was a factor. And it helped, especially being that first pair, being first round and earlier in the day. But, that was just a really quality round win, and to be able to knock that out of the way early felt really good.
Yeah, and that team is coming around big time also. But you got through to set up what is my favorite matchup of this modern era, Austin and Justin, 2 young, fresh faces for all the people that for over the however many years, we're tired of the same people. You know how it goes, right? Young, fresh faces. You both have arrived recently. You're both trying to make your name in the sport, and you both have a starting line talent. And so every time you guys run, in my opinion, we should be like hyping it up, future stars, battling it out. Like you're not like the rookie of the year thing is in the past for you guys, but still relatively young and going to carry this sport, hopefully for the next 10, 15 years. And so he's number 1, you're number 2. And it was a great race, but you left first and outran him. Also, 057 to an 078. You went a 74-0 at 327 and were able to get the win to go to the semis.
Yeah, that was another great race. You said it. Austin's a great driver. He's a natural driver. He's driven everything from go-karts to top fuel dragsters and, driven for people like John Force and Tony Stewart. So they have a really good team over there. Yes, it was me versus Austin. And I don't want to deflect that. It's exciting because it's new, young blood, and it's healthy for the sport of NHRA drag racing. And him and I certainly want to do this successfully for a long time. But it's also our Phillips-Connect team versus his team. And you saw that, a battle, 2 really, really good ETs and 2 solid reaction times. So just my hats off to our team. It is a team effort. His team against our team. We were fortunate to come out with the win, but he was the number 1 qualifier for a reason. We just nipped him in lane choice, which again was important the round before. And once you go against him, it's going to be a battle. And I'm sure it's not going to be the last time we race each other this year. And hopefully it happens a few more times, especially in the countdown.
Absolutely. And that's interesting. That whole Reinhart had a great stat that if you get the bye run, you're going to lose the next round. And it happened a few times. But they went 72-4, and that wasn't enough to get the lane choice. And lane choice was maybe not the only factor, but a factor, which set up you guys in the semifinal. Let's talk a little bit about that semifinal round where Josh Hart, who is fighting for his first win of the season, has been very tough, knows how to leave the starting line, and just another very challenging Titanic matchup where you guys both got down the racetrack.
Yeah, Josh had been doing a good job all day, and I try not to pay attention, to be honest with you, Joe, about what's going on outside of our pit area. But I knew coming into it, I said, well, Josh cut a really good light in round one, and whoa, we cut an even better light in round two. So I kind of went in there with the mentality of, all right, I'm just going to do the same thing each and every time. And if he cuts a 30 light, let him cut a 30 light. And certainly he did. So my hat's off to him. He cut a great light. They made a nice lap, but, we're fortunate to come out with the win. I think we went a 76, which was just a stout lap at the time. And again, lane choice isn't everything, but it was helpful, on a day like Sunday. So we were able to get lane choice going into the final. So Josh is a younger guy, a competitor, a good person. But look, it was important for us to get that round win and get back into the finals. Our last final round before this was in Norwalk, and our hats off to Leah, but we also felt like we missed an opportunity for us to collect another Wally. So we wanted another shot at it. That put us in a position to do so. And then once you get past that semifinal, you can really start to feel it. You're like, wow, this can actually happen, especially at such a historic and nice place like Sonoma. So that was a really fun, exciting win. And after that, you can really start to feel the butterflies flying and start to feel the momentum going your way.
Let's work a question in here. Eddie says, and I think, I don't know, I feel like this is kind of already the case, but I guess it depends on the paperwork, right? Would you ever consider being a team owner like Antron?
Yeah,
aren't you already kind of like it's explained?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I am actually already a team owner. So there's a number of us in an ownership capacity, but I myself, it's Maynard Ashley Racing. So I'm partnered with Joe Maynard and Joe C. Maynard and Eric Lehman and the entire Maynard family. So I'm already a co-owner, in addition to Dustin Davis and Mr. 300 Jim Epler. So there are a number of different people in an ownership capacity, in a leadership capacity within our team. But, just as it pertains to that question, I love that side of it because I always like the business side of drag racing. So I love operating in an ownership capacity, and regardless of, where the future takes me, God willing, I'd love to be around the sport for a long time in a driving and in an ownership capacity.
There you go. No, I think it's great. And, as an owner, you have a different kind of stake and a different kind of perspective, which I think is important. All right, guys, let's keep sharing the show out there. I'm watching the numbers get up there as we defeat the algorithm. We're on a Wednesday for the first time in a couple of weeks. I certainly appreciate that. Final round. Let's talk a little bit about that. You and Antron. Here we go again. We just saw it. We're seeing it again. You guys, Clash of Titans, friends, mentors. I saw a photograph of Antron's 2009 Western Swing Sweep, and a young Justin, I think 13 or 14 years old, was in the winner's circle. That was when I guess your dad owned the team, and that's a circular storyline, right? It all comes back together and is amazing once again that you run Antron now in the final round.
Yeah, I remember being there in 2009. It was in the left lane. I was on the starting line. My dad did own the Matco Tools team at the time, and Antron Brown was driving. And it's, the same leadership that's there now, Brian Karate and Mark Oswald and Brad Mason and Antron behind the wheel. So I remember him sweeping the swing. I remember being in the winner's circle and celebrating. And then talk about things coming around full circle, coming back here in 2023 and actually racing against him in the finals. That was special. That was fun. I knew regardless of the result, it was just a blessing to be in that opportunity. But we wanted to win, Joe. We wanted to win so badly for Phillips-Connect, for Toyota, for Kato, and for all our sponsors. It was so important for us to be able to get the win. And that's the last run for 2023 for NHRA down Sonoma Raceway. That's how you do it. A close, really, really close drag race by thousandths of a second or whatever it was. Just a fun, exciting drag race that had a little bit of a wheel stand, which we seem to be carrying all day and throughout the weekend, which I absolutely love. Little shades of the old Larry Dixon days right there. So, that's how you do it.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay, so I don't know. I have no way to prove this. But if every Top Fuel car left like that, the ratings would be up. And I think ticket sales would be up. Like maybe fans would disagree, or maybe it's just a crazy thing to say. But I was on the starting line watching that run, and I saw your car take off. I looked straight past the tree, and I try to look at both cars at the same time and just kind of get a feel for what's going. But when your wheels are in the air, it felt like at least a foot That's it, man. That's where you want to look. You want to see that. That's racing. That's something extreme, even more extreme than an 11,000 horsepower top fuel dragster, because the wheels are up. Like, what's going on there? And you went down there and got the win. I remember your early wins, you were wheel standing a lot. And
yeah,
you kind of sometimes do and sometimes don't. Obviously, it has to do with tune-up and track conditions and weight balance, but we need more of that.
Yeah, we do. No, I think it's fun. It makes for some good pictures. And yes, I agree with you. I don't know if there's a way to prove it, but yes, the Nielsen ratings would have to prove that, right? It's got to go right up if all the cars did a wheel stand. Look, I have nothing to do with that. That's the way Mike and Tommy are running the car, and it works. It has to do with weight distribution, and obviously a number of different factors are involved in that, but it's working for us. And, Mike and Tommy and the team really put in so much work in the offseason to put us in a position to be able to win races like this and run well. And we got a long way to go. But for right now, at least from a driving side, it is fun. It's a little challenging, obviously, when the wheels are up in the air like that, because you really want to make sure that you land straight, because if you don't, you can certainly dart in one direction or the other. But it is fun. It is exciting. There's really no way to explain it. It just kind of feels like you're along for the ride until the front end sets down and the clutch locks up, and there you go through the rest of the track, the rest of the way.
Amazing. 2,000, whatever it was, 5 wins on the season now, and the career year, it continues. 5 wins. We still got a bunch to go, but I don't want to make this like a loaded pressure-packed comment, but we know that the most important season is yet to come, and that's championship season. You had your experience last year where you brushed with the championship, but came up a little bit short, and you learned some lessons from then. And so you've got to know that as great as all this is, stacking up trophies, the really important championship worthy part of the season lies ahead.
Oh, 100%. And that's a great question. We know that. I think last year's experience is going to help us. We have a ton of championship winning experience on the team anyway. Everybody from Mike, Tommy, Justin, Jeff, the entire team have championship winning experience. But all this is great. And the more runs we make, it's good because it gives us data and information that we continue to use throughout the rest of the year and during the countdown. But you got to get hype. You got to get hot at the right time, and you got to hit your stride right around Indy and right around the countdown. And we're getting to that point in the season now. We're only 3 races left in the regular season, and the playoffs are when it matters. So yes, this is great. Yes, we're going to enjoy it. Yes, we're going to take all this data and information and collect it and try and apply it moving forward. But we have to hit our stride. We have to run well when it matters most, which is in the playoffs. And every sport is built the same way: football, baseball, basketball. So yeah, that's definitely in the back of our mind. We're going to control what we can control, which is the present moment. But once it's time for the playoffs, we have to be hitting on all cylinders.
All right. Since you've won now 5 times, I always like to do a little fun stuff with drivers who are on a regular basis. It can't always be just about the race wins. And hey, I want to thank you for the big shout out on Fox, right? You dropping my name for the big starting line intro. Thank you for that.
You know what, Joe? You deserved it. You deserve it. I think that every time we win rounds, we should all mention Joe Castello's name.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to put that. You want to talk about ratings going up?
Yes.
WFO ratings going up.
Here.
You deserve that shout out. You really do a great. I may be your biggest fan, Joe. I think you do an awesome job. You really do.
Well, thank you for that. I was very surprised that I got the shout out, and I do try to get people hyped up with that, though. Like, that's no joke. Like, that's my job, to try to get people hyped up, to feel that moment when, whether there's a flyover and the anthem ends, the nitro cars are starting, like, that's got to be the most dramatic moment. And I do my best, and sometimes it works, and hopefully people like it. But that's not what I'm bringing up. It's now time for Judge Justin. Justin, okay? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Okay. I think so. We'll find out.
Well, we're going to find out. So what should happen? We're going to ask Judge Justin. This gentleman, the real Michael Myers, says, my friend and I snuck up to the starting line in Sonoma. We wore Antron Brown pit crew shirts and followed them up and acted like we owned the place. They stood on the starting line, but he's now confessing to the crime on WFO Radio. Justin Ashley. Judge Justin, what should happen?
Nothing now. There's nothing that can happen now.
I don't know. We can find this guy.
Listen, first of all, that's half the battle. kudos to him for being confident enough to do that. If you walk up there wearing what you're supposed to wear with confidence, good for you. You got it done. You accomplished it. But so it's funny because we want to try and get as many of our sponsors up to the starting line as possible. And NHRA has a really strict policy, which we get and we understand because it's for safety reasons. So, Joe, you're going to put me in a bad position here. I mean, I plead the fifth. That's what I really want to do is plead the fifth.
Come on, you're the judge. The judge doesn't
I'm
plead
the judge.
The fifth. What should happen?
I would say, listen, congratulations. You did it. You got away with it. I'm happy for you. Just, I wouldn't recommend doing it again.
Don't do it again.
I wouldn't recommend doing it again for safety reasons. And you certainly don't want to put NHRA or any of the teams in a bad position either. But listen, kudos to you. You got it done.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my answer too. Judge Justin doing a good job ruling correctly here. Don't do it again, though. Don't do it again. There were people.
You should have let me know, and I would have brought a gavel.
Well, maybe next time.
Yeah.
Maybe this will be the bit. Whenever you win, we'll go to Judge Justin. We'll bring some sort of issue to you, and you will decide. And that's all off the top of our heads, guys. This is just the greatness of WFO and just being a little bizarre. Jimmy Ryan wants to know if you like football.
Oh, I love football. That's my favorite sport besides NHRA drag racing is football. I played football my whole life growing up, and I'm a huge New York Jets fan. They actually start tomorrow at the Hall of Fame game, so their first preseason game tomorrow. I think they're actually going to have a really good year this year, so I love football. I'm kind of a football nerd.
Yeah.
An X's and O's guy. I will say this, the Jets are going to do a lot better than the Yankees are doing this year.
Yeah, well, well, I'm a Dolphins fan. When it comes to football, I'm a Dolphins fan. So we are in direct rivalry in our football team.
The Dolphins are good too. The AFC East is filled with good competition, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, the Yankees are a disaster right now. Whatever, but you're a Met fan, right? Like Mets,
I'm
Jets,
a big
Islanders.
Met fan. I have nothing to. We made a lot of good trade deadline moves, but they sold off, so a lot of young prospects.
That's it. That's it. Verlander gone, Scherzer gone, all gone. It's over. Yeah. Well, we're both in agony about our
That's right.
Baseball teams. Hope springs eternal here in South Florida. All right, so let's preview Kansas and Brainerd because this is like the final two races to tune up for every other race mattering big time, right? And Topeka, our final time there. Yikes.
Yeah, it's it's sad to see Topeka go, but it's very encouraging that we have another drag strip coming to take its place. So that's kind of where our focus is. You want to, now that we know it's going to be the last race there, it has that much motivation. We want to win. And Topeka is an interesting track, especially this time of the year, because it can be really hot there. And you kind of just got to win the race sometimes by going A to B and finding ways to get down the racetrack. So, we're excited to do that. We're excited to go to Topeka, but ultimately Topeka and Brainerd, you said it, that's what it's about, tuning yourself up for Indy and the countdown. And Indy, although it's not part of the countdown, it's huge because A, it's the U.S. Nationals, but B, it's points and a half. So no matter where you go into Indy, being that it's points and a half, who knows when you leave there, things can totally shake out differently than when you originally came in. So these next two races, Topeka and Brainerd, we're going to focus on one race at a time. But yeah, it's really about setting ourselves up the right way for the U.S. Nationals and for the rest of the year.
How important is having the points lead going into the countdown?
It's critical. I think that it's really important. It's not everything. I want to make that clear. It's not. I'm a firm believer in once you're in the dance, you're in the dance, and anything can happen. So once you're in the playoffs, all bets are off. However, it's about positioning and it's about seeding, and you get that one round advantage plus whatever mission, plus or minus, I should say, whatever mission foods points are involved there. So yeah, it adds up. It's important to be number one. It's important at the very least to be at the top and try and seed yourself the best way that you can to hopefully compete going into the World Finals in Pomona.
Super excited. Congratulations on becoming an uncle as well. That is a big deal for you and your fam. I know your dad was over the moon. It was his birthday. Thank you for coming on WFO to share it all with us. I do have one final question, though, that I know people are going to want me to ask, because there's that big announcement going on later today. The pro organization is making an announcement. We've all kind of got a good idea of what it's going to be about. The specifics, I'm very interested, but I know you can't. I know you probably know the details, but you cannot share them because that's the point of having an announcement. But 50,000 foot view of something happening before the season involving nitro cars and pro stock cars as well to bring more attention to the sport. Like your take.
Yeah, well, I think it's exciting. It's really about, and I don't want to delve too much into it before the press conference because that's where you get all the details, but it's about what's in the best interest of the sport. And, our team is kind of taking a wait and see approach, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're really excited about it. It's an exciting time to be involved in the sport of drag racing. It's an exciting time to be involved in NHRA. So I think the fans are going to be really excited about this. And I think overall, for the health of drag racing, this is something that can really help take us to the next level. So, the announcement will come out here pretty soon, and we'll take a wait and see approach, man. But it's all about something that's going to be for the betterment of the future, and that's what gets us excited about it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wait and see, and we'll talk about it in the coming weeks, and definitely something big to look forward to in the off season, I think. But in the meantime, good luck in this run that you're on. 5 wins already, and we'll see you in Kansas in a couple of weeks. And thanks for spending a little time with us here on WFO Radio.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate the time. Go WFO.
Thank you so much, Justin. Appreciate it. Justin Ashley with us here on WFO Radio. Winners edition, the DENSO Sonoma Nationals, and we're going to keep on trucking. I see him down there, and we're going to bring him on and talk about his big win in funny car that we saw coming. It was like a surge on the ocean. You could see it, final round, and then punched it through for a win. JR Todd back on WFO. What's up, JR?
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah. So how did it feel from inside the team? Like on the outside, people were buzzing and you made the final round in Seattle and the performances were coming around. It was a surge forward and you got through for the win.
It's been a long work in progress for sure. You never want to go 2+ years without winning a race. So once, summer came around in Bristol, Norwalk, we start going to the semifinals after, not doing well at all, getting our teeth kicked in, basically. I mean, we went to the final there in Gainesville, but it was pretty much downhill from Pomona on. So to bounce back and to keep digging deep and start going to the later rounds, I think that's when we kind of knew ourselves, like, hey, we keep going to the semis, like the finals are going to come, and then we start going to the finals and we're knocking on the door of a win. So once the Western swing came around, I felt like that we definitely had a car that could have won Denver, probably should have won Seattle, and then to cap it off there in Sonoma. That was definitely relief, and I was just glad more than anything that the payback of the guys. They've been working their butts off for so long to get to this point. Some of the guys have been there, part of the 2018 championship team, but we've also had a lot of new guys come on board. So they've experienced the ultimate lows, and now to pay them back with a win. That's the best part.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff and getting hot at the right time and putting all that behind you. But I do want to spend a little time on that kind of dark period because I remember Gainesville and I felt like, we were talking about the new chassis and it was doing what the guys wanted it to do. And, that Gainesville test, you guys looked really good. And then, we all know what happened in the moment. I recall saying or thinking something like, tough times makes people stronger. There's a saying, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And that maybe going through this disaster will make these guys gel and bond together. You tell me, like, you don't want to go through that, of course, but you had no choice in that. Did that make you guys stronger for now, for what's ahead?
I definitely think it makes you stronger. It definitely makes you appreciate it when you go out there and win these things because they're not easy to win by any means. And yeah, we started off the season with a brand new combination, different parts and pieces than what we've had run in the past. Basically, I started in the funny car, different chassis, precision built race cars with Joe Fitzpatrick and Dan Murphy. They built an awesome piece. And, Todd said, like, it's going to take me probably half the season to get a handle on this combination. But for whatever reason, we ran really well there in Gainesville. We tested there, probably a month before the race. And then the week of the race, tested again and just ran really well, went to the final. Probably another race that we should have won. I feel like that was more my fault. Let the car get out of the groove and spun the tires and blew up. But once we go to Pomona and all that happens, man, I don't wish that on anybody. It's really unfortunate what happened to, our primary car there. And then you got to unload the backup car Saturday night. The guys, worked late getting it together. Actually, we qualified with it, and then going through everything, stripping down the primary car, getting it sent off to Brownsburg, Indiana, there on Sunday, and then the first round to go through that explosion, like just completely totaled 2 cars and 2 bodies and a bunch of parts and pieces. The guys, had planned on taking everything to Las Vegas, having the week off, go spend times with their family over Easter weekend, but instead they had to bust ass back to Ypsilanti, Michigan, put together another car that was back at the shop, get the primary car back from Joe and Dan, get it back together, and then turn around and haul ass to Las Vegas for the event there, which looking back on, we probably really had no business being there. Just all the stuff that happened, we just really weren't ready. But the guys, they did an awesome job getting everything ready to try to qualify and just DNQ'd, and we probably needed to go test or some things like that just to work everything out. But from then on, it was just a struggle to get back to where, we knew we could be. I mean, I don't think people understand just that one event, how far that put us back. I'm talking like months that put us behind. So to finally be able to catch up to, I think, the beginning of the season right now is it's a sigh of relief, and hopefully it's a good sign of things to come the way we ran on the Western Swing.
Yeah, Jono and Todd, they just had that smile, the like relief. We made it, and now we can do something. Hey, Derek's got a question. I remember at the beginning of the year, like we were talking to you about trivial things, but like, hey, you got a new steering wheel on the car. That's cool. Max Pappa's steering wheel. Were you running that wheel this whole time? And he wants to know the advantages of it, if so.
Yeah, I've had it in there ever since we first unloaded the car in preseason testing. I mean, there's been a couple different versions of it. It's still kind of in the R&D process, but I definitely haven't, taken the MPI wheel out of the car. I don't know if there's an advantage or disadvantage. It's just something that I've become comfortable with. It's taken me some time to get used to it. It's different than a butterfly steering wheel. I mean, the angle is different. I feel like it gives me more leverage steering down the track, especially when these things have a cylinder out. The funny cars rely on the downforce from the exhaust so much that when you drop a cylinder, it's trying to push you one side or the other, to where I feel like I can counter steer it better with this wheel than I could in the past with the butterfly, to where you kind of get maxed out on cranking that thing, and you're still trying to turn it. You can't turn it anymore, to where I think this gives me a better opportunity with that. And I can't thank Max and everybody at MPI enough for working with us and kind of thinking outside the box on how to improve something that we've had since basically the 1960s.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's the first win on a new innovation, the steering wheel, which is, that's a great thing. Let's talk a little bit about the round by round. Let's go into it. Where first round, you qualified 8th. We spoke about it with Justin. Qualifying was destroyed pretty much for everyone. Went in there with the plan that Friday night was going to be throwdown. We were going to see every record that ever existed broken, and that's not what we got, because there was transmission fluid on the track. Sucks, bummer. But, and we just lost JR, and now I think he's back. But it changed everybody's qualifying. So you guys ended up 8th. You ran Blake 9th and had a ludicrously close race.
Yes. Qualifying, we came out of the box, ran well there in Q1. We ended up 4th, I think. And then, of course, your expectations in Sonoma Friday night, you're going to go out there and haul ass. I think everybody expected that. But from the time we, got to the lanes to the time we ran, I think we sat there almost an hour, just with the track prep issues and the weather changing and the track probably not being what all the crew chiefs thought it was going to be. Just it was more of a bummer for the fans than I think the drivers. Of course, we want to go fast and haul ass, but we also want to put on a good show. And for the funny cars, I think Alexis was the only car to make it down the track, and I know they intended to run quicker than what they did Q1, but after seeing nobody get on the track, I'm sure Dell and Nikki just slowed it down to make it down there and get 3 points. So yeah, it's disappointing when that happens for the fans. But yeah, we qualified 8th. It seems like that's our normal spot, like 7 through 10. You're always either second to last or last pair, which is kind of a disadvantage when you're in funny car on Sunday, because with the oil downs and what have you, with the cars in front of you and live TV, it makes the turnaround time that much shorter for the crew guys. So once again, got to give it up to the yellow fellas for busting ass and having no mistakes on turning around that GR Supra for the second round there. But yeah, it was a close race with Blake. I feel like he's come a long ways in driving a funny car with Jim Head. I mean, they're going down the track, making competitive runs. They won Norwalk. Blake has definitely improved his game on the starting line, and he took it to me there first round for sure.
Which you are rewarded. You got to run the number one qualifier. And we talked about it. Everybody who was awarded a buy run lost the round after the buy run. You and Tasca, and you left first with a 59 reaction time, went 398, and just, took it to those guys. And at that point, I'm feeling today could be the day. What about you? Do you let yourself think like that, or do you stay in the zone and just kind of block out any forward-thinking hopes?
I mean, once you're going rounds and your adrenaline's going, you like to think like that, because that's how I thought in Seattle. I was like, man, we can't do no wrong today. We're low ET first round and make our way to the finals, and that you think this is it. Then bam, Tim Wilkerson, goes out there and throws down against you. So yeah, once we got past Tasca, I was just happy to be in another semis. That means we're going to another Mission Foods deal, get a chance for some extra points going into the countdown, but you never can count out Tasca either. Aaron Brooks and those guys, they've been doing a really good job for their first year with Tasca. I mean, that thing goes out there and hauls ass a lot. And, when that win light came on, I was pumped, going to another semi. And you knew from that point on, it didn't matter who you raced, it was going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, let's spend a little time on that Mission Foods deal, because I don't want to shortchange you on that. That's a big deal. You want it, those points, a little money. But I'm a believer in energy, like positive energy. And you won something. Like, it's not a national event, but look, right afterwards, the next day you won again. And so there's no way to like prove it, but it had to make you feel great to accomplish that Saturday win. But you tell me, Jono said, I'd love to treat it like any other race. He goes, but I can feel it in my stomach that this is not qualifying. Your take?
Yeah, I mean, we had been to a final in one of those before and didn't win. And, we've been running those GR Supras as the exhibition before the pro cars get going. And I haven't won one of those. It's like, man, I cannot win anything. And so, yeah, to finally, get the win there on Saturday, it felt nice. So it felt like momentum was finally starting going our way. Like, we weren't catching any breaks, a lot of bad luck. And, you definitely got to put yourself in good situations also to get some good luck. But it was nice for that momentum to finally start rolling our way. And I think it definitely started there Saturday in Sonoma.
That's cool. And that's going to be a tiebreaker somewhere along the line. I mean, as times go by and we start, cutting up points, those points are going to make a difference, I would think, somewhere. So semifinal, Hagen, that's always a great matchup. You guys have slugged it out over the years. Two great levers, two great teams, and you were able to get the best of them to go to the final round. But talk about prepping for that race.
Yeah, I mean, I said in my top-end interview after we ran those guys that Hagen, he'll go down as one of the greatest funny car drivers ever. And, Tony Stewart and Dickie and those guys, they're a great team. Tony, he's one of my all-time heroes in all of racing. So to be able to go out there each week and cut it up and talk dirt track with him, that's it's like I'm living my childhood dream, getting to hang out with one of my heroes out there. But Hagen, like I said, he's one of the best in the business. Those guys make winning look easy, and it is not easy. You know that you're going to have to bring your A game to the starting line every time you race Matt, and you're going to have to throw down because Dickie, he seems like he goes for the throat every time. So once that win light came on against Matt, man, I was pretty fired up and looking forward to the final round, because that right there, to me, that was like winning a final round, beating those guys. But to kind of put myself in the same situation I was in Seattle, it's like, all right, just stay focused and don't count your chickens before they're hatched, man. Like it's never over until it's over. And, knowing that we had to run Chad Green, you see that he beat Caps the round before, and Chad's been mowing the tree down all season long, and that thing's been going down the track pretty consistently. It seems like they're in that Mission Foods deal every week that they have one, and they're definitely a win waiting to happen.
Yeah, I talked to him before the final, and I don't know how much you get to hang out with Chad at all, but he's a good guy. And I think he's doing this for like the right reasons. He was excited to race you to try to get some payback on what had happened the week previously in Seattle. He lost on a hole shot and he was feeling it. And he's like, I want to get some payback. But he said it in a cool way that you'd want a driver to do it. And that's an interesting situation going up against a first-time finalist.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you're going up against a first-time finalist, and I've done it a few times in the past, like I remember what it was like when I got my first win, and I definitely, you don't want to be that person that loses to a first-time finalist. I mean, not that I didn't want Chad to win. I mean, like I say, he's a great guy, and they're a win waiting to happen. And with the way Wilkerson ran against us in the final last weekend, I figured they would have that thing loaded up for bear, and I think it put a hole out there in the final against us. But Chad, I mean, he left on me on the starting line. I mean, he did his job, and it was a good race. And you know, sometimes they say you got to lose before you win, and I feel like I said he's going to win really soon.
I agree. They're doing it. You know, a bunch of semifinals, got a Mission Foods. Now they've got a runner-up. And they're peaking, they're surging, just like you guys did. You could see it was happening. It wasn't just out of nowhere. They're surging forward, and they're going to break through at some point. In the media center, you come in with this chalice full of wine, and it was really a cool moment. And just you guys celebrated real well. But in the media center, you said something, and without going backwards and all the distractions, but you brought up bonus money for your crew guys, which I don't know that most people, when they watch, they think about that stuff. Like, this guy's out there trying to bring in bonus money for his crew guys. And I thought that really put an important focus on your genuine mindset, like winning races and all that. But man, these guys, fans don't understand how hard they work. I don't understand how hard they work. I watch them, but I'm not doing it. And when you said that, it was insightful into the way you were thinking about it. To carry that, here you are, you're in a celebratory moment, and you're thinking about checks for your guys.
Yeah, I mean, here we are, 2023, racing for the same amount of money that we did 20 plus years ago. So it's definitely not enough money. And the guys working on the car for amount of work that they put in, the time that they put in on it, like they're underpaid for the amount of work that they do. So the ultimate goal every week is to win races, to try to win that bonus money so they can, provide for their families and things like that. And just like people have no idea how much work goes on behind the scenes. I mean, those that come to the track, they see them, busting butt in between rounds. But for instance, our truck and trailer, our support trailer, leaving Sonoma, broken axles. So the guys are stuck on the side of the road for a day or day and a half trying to get back to Michigan to enjoy some time off from being on the road for the last 3 weeks. And just things like that. If we'd have lost first round, those guys would have been super pissed about that. Where now, they're mad that, they're broke down and stuck, but hey, at least we won a race. We got a trophy. We get some, bonus money to work off of. But yeah, that's why I'm always so focused. And like I said, I usually keep to myself and try not to get caught up in a lot of other people's BS or whatever. And some people might think I'm, not as friendly, or I'm definitely not as outgoing as a lot of the other drivers out there. But majority of the drivers in our sport now are either owners or they're paying to drive, to where I'm one of the few that gets paid to drive. So I'm focused on doing the best job that I can and driving that Nitro Funny car and representing Scott Kalitta and Connie Kalitta and everybody at Kalitta Motorsports and all our great sponsors, DHL and Toyota. So when you take jabs at my team or sponsors, I'm gonna, stick up for what I believe.
I think that is reasonable expectations from anybody, and you did a good job on the racetrack this weekend, certainly. Let's look forward, though. Looking at the points, 8th in the points, just a couple points out of 7th, and you can definitely make some hay. Do you feel like you guys are back now? And like when we go to Kansas and Brainerd, that you got a car that if things go the right way, you got to play it right each weekend, of course, but that now you guys are back and you can win wherever you show up.
I firmly believe that we have a car that can compete for wins now. I mean, I couldn't say that earlier this year, but we've run well in Topeka, we've done well in Brainerd. So I told Loans, I think it was after Seattle, that if we can go out and win a race or maybe two, that we could be setting ourselves up for a good spot going into Indy and the countdown. And hopefully we can, keep going to these Mission Foods deals and win those things and get those added points and roll into Indy. And once you go into Indy, I feel like it's on at that point. You're loaded up trying to win that race. It's 1.5 points, trying to set yourself up for a good spot in the countdown, ideally top 5, kind of like we did in 2018, and then just let it eat after that.
Excellent. All right. So I talked to Justin. I think you were coming on as we talked a little bit about it. Everybody is buzzing about this big announcement. I don't want you to spill what you know if you know anything, but we all kind of have a decent idea of it's going to be a race. It's going to be not during the season. It's going to be Pro is putting it on, Drag Illustrated Flow involved. Those are the people who are hosting the press conference. So that's not anything letting the cat out of the bag. Everybody's excited about it. So, what's your take? What can you share? And what do you think about that concept?
Anything that we can do to improve the sport of drag racing, I'm all for it. Like I said, going back to the winnings that we get now, it needs to be way better than what it is. And things like flow racing, I'm a huge fan of flow racing. I was on there last night watching sprint cars from Kokomo, Indiana. I mean, there's always something that I'm watching on there, whether it's sprint cars, late models, drag racing, PDRA. So it's a big thing. It's a cool thing what they're doing. I think them getting involved in drag racing is a great thing. I really don't have many details on the event coming up. I mean, I'll learn just as much as you do with the 3 o'clock deal today. So I'm looking forward to whatever they announce, and it should be exciting.
Excellent. All right. So Nikki's out there asking a good question. You're very opinionated, and we like that. And this is a topic that has come up a couple of times. The people are calling it the participation trophy. Like we did it a couple of years around the pandemic where everybody who makes attempts qualifies for the countdown. And I don't know, I feel like maybe this year we're kind of being robbed of what would be something very exciting for people trying to fight their way into the countdown. And so Nikki Clark, who are 1.5 points a big deal at Indy anymore since there's no cutoff for the countdown. It's really all about seeding. And so I'll just change the question into everybody makes it. Has that outlived its usefulness, in your opinion?
I believe so. I never thought it was a great idea to begin with. It always made Indy in the past dramatic when they came up with the countdown. And I think that's why they came up with 1.5 points to try and drum up that drama of making the top 10 where now everybody makes it. Like I don't know. I think it kind of muddies up things and confuses the fans a little bit with if you're a full-time touring car that you're automatically in the countdown. So yeah, there really is honestly no need, in my opinion, for 1.5 points at Indy. But since there are 1.5 points at Indy, I'm going to go there and try and take advantage of it and improve our position in points for sure. But I don't know. I wish that there were more importance put on the U.S. Nationals and not treat it like just a normal race, which it's not. I grew up going there when I was 9 or 10 years old. Got to race a junior dragster there when I was 10 years old at the U.S. Nationals. Had it in the staging lanes with Kenny Bernstein and John Forrest, and you run around getting those guys' autograph and watching the Big Bud shootout. And just there's always like a lot of money on the line. Just you could tell there's a lot of tension. Like everybody was so geared up and pumped to try and win that race, where now just, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of losing its luster a little bit, which I don't want to see that.
We gotta work hard. And I know you guys and the teams are working hard. We all got to work hard to make sure that does not happen. JR, thank you very much. Congratulations. And a big win. I know there's more coming. I could tell Todd seemed confident. Jono seemed confident. Had some conversations over the year with Michael James, confidence getting there, and you guys got there. So great job, and thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks a lot, Joe. I appreciate it.
All right. And we find out what happens not long from now. Way to go, JR. Thank you very much. There he goes. JR Todd with us here on WFO Radio. And wow, Justin Ashley, JR, bringing it. And thank you for checking it out. Let me tell you about the people who make it possible, and then I'll answer some questions that you may have, and I'll throw some opinions out there that I may have about it. But let's talk about the people who make it possible, like Total Seal Piston Rings. We've got a great new episode of Hidden Horsepower getting ready to drop with Andrew Hines, where he talks about the Suzuki 4-cylinder engines making 3.6 horsepower per cubic inch and revving 14,000 RPM. It's a really great conversation that you are going to love dramatically. Plus, he tells a couple of great stories. It's all an exercise in learning more about Total Seal, totalseal.com. FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. You just have to look at Pro Modified, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, the .90 stuff, big money bracket stuff to know that they've got a great product. But for your street car, they can build a transmission, shift kits, the basic stuff. For the person who's not out there racing every weekend, they do that too. But if you've got a powerful drag and drive car, twin turbo, 3,000 horsepower, you're going to need FTIperformance.com. The folks at Foggit, this is a great way to protect the inside of your racing engine. We had someone yesterday, they got a go-karting facility. They fog the inside of the engines. The cylinder finish and the ring package is where the horsepower is. So why would you not protect it? Like, think of what people do to protect their paint job. Why would you not protect the inside of your engine? And people for years have used products that are not designed for this. Now there's a product designed for this. It's Foggit. Go to foggit.com to find out more. And if you are interested in firearms, the armorers are finding that it works very well to protect firearms. It works well on firearms. It works well in the machine shop. Those of you who are working on a lathe, something like that, Foggit is just a multi-purpose product that is doing a great job. Gary Stinnett, Steve Williams, bringing it out there. I love the fact they've got the entrepreneurial spirit rocking. Bernie Speed Shop, Bernie's, BURNYZZ.com, over 100,000 square feet. And we did it yesterday on the air. Just go there and look at the cars, trucks, e-bikes, everything that is available, trailers at Bernie's. They do it all. They've got a engine shop, they've got a restoration shop, body shop, and of course, the big showroom. Go to BURNYZZ.com and check out what they've got. The next time you need to sell a car or truck, do it through them. Phillips-Connect.com. Justin Ashley started off the show, talked about Mr. Epler, the 300 miles per hour to the 8th mile. If you are in the trucking and transportation industry, you need to do this. I can connect you directly, Joe at WFOradio.com. Just email me and I'll put you together. But if you've got trucks going over the road, you need to be safe and you need to be in front of any situation. And how do you do that? With sensors from Phillips-Connect that let you know if there's something wrong with the brakes, that let you know if you've got a wheel hub heating up, that lets you know if the weight on the load has changed. Like, yeah, it's 50,000 pounds and then it's 5,000 pounds. Like, what's going on? You know, sorry, fell off the back of the truck. That doesn't work anymore. Thanks to Phillips-Connect. Go to them, check it out. And of course, connect with me if you need. I'll put you together. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Drive a dragster. If you've never driven a dragster, you'll watch JR, you watch Justin. Why is everybody so eaten up by this sport? You can get the feeling on a slightly minor level, but a much less expensive level by going to Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and doing the dragster adventure. Marvin Rodak, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com, 817-924-6821. Call Marvin, order some coffee, get in on the Rodak's program. Your life will be changed forever. It's pretty true. In fact, Reinhart was like, "Are you a coffee guy still?" I was like, "Yeah, I am still a coffee guy at this Sonoma race." And then there's samtech.edu. None of this is happening without qualified machinists to build the parts. None of it. Crew guys, a lot of them are coming out of samtech.edu. So call Brian Massengill if you're interested. They're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill and definitely can point you in the right direction. And be sure to tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio. Project Pontiac. Finding out all kinds of information this morning about Project Pontiac. We're going to get this thing back on the track, run a little NHRA Super Street. Got some bad news today. It's up, it's down, it's left, it's right. Just like part that I thought I was going to get for X is now going to cost double and then change. And it's just like, oh my gosh, do I really want to do this? Should I put it back on the street? What should I do? You want to keep up with Project Pontiac, obviously. We'll be telling you all about it here on WFO Radio. And thanks to the folks at Racing Junk. If you go to WFO, you can hit classifieds and go check out Racing Junk and find parts and pieces. That's certainly where I'm finding some of my parts and pieces. And also our great Patreons. You know, Derek mentioned something about Justin being a Patreon. You know, Phillips-Connect is a sponsor. That's pretty much the same thing. But if you are a individual person, you want to join our VIP listener club, get a backstage pass to everything WFO. I put up an audio file earlier today where we talked a little bit about what's happening with Pro and this event that's happening. I talked about, I've been making a big stink about coverings for the fans, that kind of stuff. But I talked about a lot of behind the scenes stuff with WFO as well. You can join Patreon by going to patreon.com/WFO radio and support the show at any level. And if you do it for a year, this next year, I'll send you a t-shirt along with all the other stuff you get. And thanks to all our WFO radio listeners. Let's see what other comments. Yeah, Wednesday show, first one in a while, but we have JR, we have Justin. Tomorrow, we're going to ask you to hit the archive. The Ignition Show in the books. Reinhart and Gage in the books. JR and Justin in the books. I feel like we got everybody for the Western Swing one way or another. Maybe we'll have to go back to Denver and check it out. But eyes forward. Headed to Topeka. AJ says, great show, Joe. Any other comments out there? Rick. Joey Rocket. Was glad to see the win. All of you at Kalitta deserve the win. Oh, I missed this one while JR was on. Nikki, Dell, Alexis, the only teams I want to win. Nitro Ninja, Metal Gods be with you. Speaking of the Nitro Ninja, US 131 up there in Martin, Michigan, a track that I have been to. Why is that not an NHRA facility? I just don't understand that. Like, I don't know why. I'm an NHRA guy. Everybody knows that. I support the NHRA. I love drag racing of all kinds. You know, PDRA uses the NHRA rulebook and all of that stuff. So they're kind of a satellite in many ways. But man, that 131 is such a cool track. Why would they not want to be NHRA? Regardless, they're going to have NHRA Top Fuel dragsters up there. Gary Pritchett is going to be racing the Nitro Ninja. And, you know, we're big supporters of Gary on WFO. We like to see this guy do well. And we're also big supporters of Krista Baldwin on WFO. And we also happen to be big supporters of Spencer Massey on WFO. And Larry Dixon is a big supporter of WFO from the very beginning. I don't think this show would have made it to where it is without Larry Dixon in the early days coming on a regular basis. Well, those four are going to be match racing at US 131 in Martin. So if you're anywhere in that area, why would you not go out there and be a part of that? Like, see some nitro cars. It's going to be awesome. But other stuff is going on too. Like, look at Monica, Maple Grove Raceway. This is the points race that was going to be at ATCO before ATCO closed the doors on everybody and disappeared into the night, which is a nightmare. But thank goodness for the Koretsky family. Let's just say that. Saving Maple Grove and being able to take on this points meet with like 3 weeks notice. And Tony Stewart is going to be racing there. Of course, Tony Stewart yesterday, if you follow any NHRA-related social media, you know he did a media tour in Indy yesterday. He went on Pat McAfee and went and saw the Colts, and he was just everywhere. He went to Nikki's television station. And Tony Stewart is doing his best to promote NHRA drag racing. Well, he's going to be there at Maple Grove. So I don't want anybody to get weird. One of the best things we've got going is the character of the NHRA fan. That a guy like Tony Stewart goes to a round track and gets mobbed and people are screaming, Tony! And he comes to a drag strip and people are cool and chilling with him and patiently waiting and having regular conversations. Like, what's up with that? And it's just the culture and character of drag racing. It's the only difference. Like, drag racing fans, you know, there's big stars, but they're all around us. And I don't want to say that nobody is like worthy of losing your cool about, But nobody loses their cool about it. There's Tony Stewart working on his car, packing his parachute. Hey, Tony. Hey, guys. It's just a different vibe. And he is out there pushing hard for drag racing. Way to go, Tony. So if you're in the Maple Grove area, you're going to have a chance to go watch Tony Stewart, the McPhillips family, run 280 miles an hour, race for a world championship. And how many people are going to be there? How many? 5,000? Man, I think that the Koretsky family would probably be stoked for that because it's divisional racing, which I don't understand why, more people don't get in on that. But then again, they're promoting the heck out of the fact that Tony Stewart is going to be there. So we'll see. Like if there is a Stewart factor, why would you not want to go see Tony Stewart drive a 280 mile per hour nitro car at Maple Grove this weekend? Why would you not? But, please, the person who breaks the chain, like the etiquette that we've got built up, that person is going to get a big demerit. Just like the guy who went on the starting line and then confessed on the show. No, thank you, sir. Thank you for confessing to your crime on the show because you inadvertently helped us create a new bit when Justin Ashley wins called Judge Justin. You got to be willing to just free think and vibe. It's very improvisational being on the air. And when you get an opportunity to put Judge Justin on the stand and let him make a ruling as to whether you should be punished for your crime, it's perfect. But I agree with him. Don't do it again, or we'll turn Nikki on you. Not this Nikki, social media Nikki, who had a very heroic moment on the starting line, asking a Formula One McLaren fan to calmly exit the starting line area, restricted area, like seeing Caps in Bakersfield. Well, isn't Night Under Fire also? Like there's a lot of drag racing going on this off weekend. This is an off weekend that, Joe Castello is going to work on Project Pontiac and his own stuff at home and maybe put brakes on his own car. That's what I'm going to do this weekend. But everybody else is racing somewhere. Nikki Clark says, going to Drive By Flying H this weekend to see how that track is shaping up. Yeah, Nikki, take some pictures, send them. In fact, there was a group of people wondering, like maybe before Kansas, we could swing over there and have a look. And I'm sure that's the last thing that they want is a bunch of like rubberneckers all looking. Like seeing Caps at Bakersfield. Exactly. Well, supporting Maple Grove is something I think everybody needs to do. Big time. There's got to be a big business, guys, not a little business. And JR's right. JR's right. We got to grow the sport. And the only way you can grow is by increasing the amount of money that is involved in the sport. And so we'll see. But that takes sponsorship. It takes all the people behind the scenes pulling in the same direction. I'm pretty interested to see how it all works out. Yeah, see, so is the Flow Pro race going to do anything for the lower funded teams, or is it going to be a big money race for the well-funded teams? Well, that is a good question, which will be answered very soon. Things will play out in time. But I'm very excited about it. I'm excited about all things drag racing in this weekend. So we ask you to go out and have yourself a good time. Oh, I didn't post these photos. JR while he was on the screen. Luke Fath sent him over, and I didn't bother to show him. Oh, well. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you very much for spending the week with us here on WFO Radio. All kinds of content in the archive. Ignition, very fun. Sue Morris, rare form. Sue Morris, bringing it, 110. What was going on with that? I don't know. You'll have to make your determination. Reinhart yesterday. Gage Herrera swept the Western Swing, and then later on in the week, Hidden Horsepower presented by Total Seal. That's on its own feed, by the way. Audio-only podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. They've got a YouTube channel as well where they post it. Andrew Hines giving all kinds of awesome details about these Suzuki inline fours. Great stuff. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Appreciate all of you. Thanks for joining me on the show. and we ask you to share. Speaking of lower funded teams, we're one of them. I think we punch above our weight, though. WFO, guys, have a great week.